He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
How would you? What's the atmosphere? What's the tone out there right now in terms of commercial banking?
So from a 30,000-foot view,
right.
I think talking very broadly, there is some conservatism amongst the different lenders. I mean, first of all, there are a limited amount of lenders to choose from commercial banking. And from this perspective, lenders in general are overly conservative in their approach to lending. What does that actually mean? Is that they're approaching every single file with a fine-tooth comb. They are turning down deals more than they ever did during the pandemic.
So it's worse than the pandemic, you're saying?
I think so.
Oh my God.
I think so. And that's essentially because interest rates had gone up, 200 basis points in a very short period of time. And although they've come down, the political uncertainty is causing an immense amount of conservatism across the major financial institutions. So I think if you're looking at it as a positive news, there is credit appetite out there. However, it is viewed on a very selective basis for specific industries, and be prepared to jump through hoops to get what you want.
So the tariffs actually, is it fair to say that the whole question of tariffs and trade enter into the way you look at a file now?
Absolutely. Every single credit file, even prior to us engaging with the client, requires us to have an understanding how the tariffs will impact their business, and we sensitize their sales or their revenue or their expenses if the tariffs were in effect, even though they're not. But that's the level of assumptions and due diligence that we have to complete.
Wow. So you're saying that even apart from all the normal cash flow, margin analysis, all the study of the financial statements that you have to do, you're now being put in a position where you have to analyze the impact of a trade war on the particular commercial account you're looking for a mortgage for.
Correct.
Wow.
Yes.
And that's been going on for a couple months now?
Ever since Trump economics came into...
Trumponomics, yeah.
Trumponomics, that's it. That's a new word I had to learn.
Trumponomics, yeah.
Yes.
So, and how does... I realize for some segments of commercial, it's not as meaningful. For instance, if you're in the multifamily business, you're housing people, you're getting mortgages for landlords, you're housing people. It's not quite as impactful because even though eventually next year there'll be fewer people in Ontario than there are today, because people keep fighting me on this in social media, but I'm telling everybody there will be fewer people in Ontario next year than there are this year. Okay. And then the boom years when they were bringing in, when the federal government decided that it's a good idea to bring in 1.3 million people a year. I mean, that didn't work out, but it's going to have some overhang, but it's also going to be reversing in a limited way. So when you think about it, even though there's going to be fewer people, we're still undersupplied of housing, right? We're still
Correct.
Definitely undersupplied. So particularly in quality rental. So, that segment's probably okay, even though, again, some conservatism. But in the pure like logistics, warehouse, manufacturing, commercial mortgage space, it could be quite impactful, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if these tariffs take into place and they kick in, then you're going to see a recession in much of our industry, specific to steel, logistics, food and beverage, anything that requires cross-border or has had a history of cross-border influence.
So automotive as well, obviously, yeah.
Automotive is huge. Automotive is the first. I think any city or any business, employer, even rental markets will be affected if you have a mass layoff situation.
So it's interesting you mentioned transportation and logistics. Describe how that is impacted. Sometimes we don't really see it that way. We just think, okay, the Walmart warehouse is going to keep going, but there obviously are some impacts, right?
Absolutely. We're seeing them now.
You're seeing it now.
Absolutely. So the threat of tariffs is already putting businesses in those industries or auxiliary industries. They are already laying people off. Wow. And that's in the news, right? That's national, that's the major news outlets that's covering them. And in terms of how that would impact our economy, you have less demand. Therefore, you don't hire as many people, so then you have layoffs, and that in turn will affect all of the other industries that support the automotive industry, the steel industry, logistics. There's also an expectation of people just doing less business with one another across border.
Right. So that's reduced transportation, reduced need for logistics, just because there's not as many transactions happening.
Correct.
So this is now, you're saying when you're talking to your clients, this is getting sort of baked in, even though it hasn't happened yet.
Correct.
Wow. And that, of course, feeds into the more conservative environment, but I guess it also feeds into less opportunity because the business owner says, I'm so worried about my business, I'm not going to expand anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not a lot of expansion, not a lot of investment, which isn't beneficial for us as consumers.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.